One teachers group is asking to delay the reopening of in-person classes. The Teachers Dignity Coalition wants classes to start on September instead of August. President Bongbong Marcos welcomes a review of the country's education curriculum to make sure we produce graduates who can be employed. Sri Lanka is now under a state of emergency. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has fled the country after weeks of protest. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. Malacanang says the president supports the review of the country's education curriculum. Press Secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles said the President Marcos wants to address job mismatches by upgrading the skills of students. Trade Secretary Fred Pascual, who was also present in the cabinet meeting, suggested sending Filipino teachers abroad for training. And school bus operators are going out of business despite the resumption of full face-to-face classes this year. They say some parents refuse to pay for their services. Gerard de la Peña tells us why.
This is just one of the 3 school bus units left under Celso's care. Other units were sold during the peak of the lockdowns since it was too burdensome to maintain them, with in-person classes suspended. But even with plans to resume full face-to-face classes by November, Celso said he and other school bus operators may still have a problem going back on the road. He said parents are hesitating to avail of their services after they double the rates.
Pagka nagtanong ng presyo, hindi na bumabalik. Sinasabi ng magulang, sila na lang daw ang maghahatid. Or kaya sila ay magta-tricycle lang.
Other PUV operators also admit they are not ready for the reopening of schools. This is after the LTFRB changed the routes for buses and jeepneys, which could confuse commuters.
Yan pong back to school, totally we are not prepared kasi sa ruta na lang po namin, kawawa po ang mga estudyante talaga. Ang nangyayari po, itong mga estudyante natin, parang stress na sila agad sa pag-commute pa lang. What more pagdating nila sa school, syempre, nagbabago po yung freshness at saka yung efficiency ng mga bata.
The LTFRB said they are in the process of reviewing the rationalization of routes.
We will open mga ruta ng bagong ruta and then siguro gagawin namin mas seamless yung biyahe kasi as you can remember, medyo nagkaroon ng mga cut na routes ng ating mga PUVs.
Meanwhile, free rides at the EDSA bus carousel will last until December 31. The Transportation Department also said that they have decided to provide free rides for students at the LRT Line 2. Fares at the Philippine National Railways are already heavily subsidized as passengers only have to pay 60 pesos instead of 362 pesos from Calamba to Tutuban. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
One News Now will be back with more stories after this quick break. Keep it here. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. One business group is calling on the Marcos government to provide a clear plan for the industry sector. Shaila Francisco with the report.
The 2023 national budget, build projects and transportation programs. These were the key topics tackled during the second cabinet meeting on Tuesday. In a statement sent to News 5, Solicitor General Menardo Guevara admitted that the agenda was quite heavy. President Bongbong Marcos led the meeting virtually after contracting COVID-19 last week. He said in a tweet that they also talked about improving the country's digital infrastructure. The business sector believes that Marcos Jr. is generally right on track. However, they are still waiting for clearer plans from the administration, at least for the first 100 days.
Investors now are in a position they are eager to know what the new administration is preparing for the next 6 years. So the sentiment of foreign investors, I'll just talk about the foreign investors, they want to see what the new administration, the market administration has to offer, or what the Philippines has to offer. So they're all ears.
We do expect the various key cabinet secretaries to come out with their long-term plan. Okay, what are the deliverables and what are the timeline? Mabilis magbigay ng plano, kung walang delivery, walang timeline, baliwala rin.
The Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry is expecting the economy to grow further, especially now that the government is pushing for the resumption of full-on face-to-face classes.
This would encourage more economic activities. But the bottom line is, our young people has been locked in for 2 years. And especially for the marginalized. Halos wala sila na yung education nila. I would like to think that whoever is the Secretary of Health, once he gets on board, this is one of the immediate concern.
The government, however, must continue facing risks, including high inflation and issues on energy supply. In terms of additional taxes to address debt, the PCCI is confident that the right policies will be implemented.
We've always been more for the government to collect the proper taxes. And I think that's more important than adding, if you add more laws to taxes, it's going to be burdensome to especially to the small and medium-sized business establishments.
The business sector is crafting its recommendations for Marcos Jr. and his economic managers, which they hope to be discussed at the Philippine Business Conference and Expo in October. Shaila Francisco, we are One News.
President Bongbong Marcos has named Sabina Boitiz as head of the Private Sector Advisory Council. The PSAC said the Aboitiz Group CEO has expressed full commitment to support the new administration. The council was put up to help the government achieve its business and economic objectives. Business leaders and experts, including Aboitiz, met with Marcos Jr. in Malacanang on July 7. The PLDT Smart Foundation has launched a children's book titled Extraordinary Manny. The book centers around the life story of PLDT Chairman Manny V. Pangilinan, starting from his childhood. The book was launched a day before Pangilinan's birthday. 5,000 copies of the book were given for free to public school students. And a fundraising campaign has also been started to produce more copies of the book.
I hope lang na I've set a good example for them to emulate at least the good things that happen in my life, and for them to become better persons. Because I sincerely believe that you can be much better.
Let's now take a quick look at today's other top stories. Protesters stormed the office of Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe after he declared a state of emergency. The Prime Minister made the declaration after President Gotabaya Rajapaksa fled the country just hours before his scheduled resignation. Protests in Sri Lanka continue to escalate as the government failed to address the country's economic crisis. The Teachers' Dignity Coalition is pushing for the next school year to open in September instead of August. The group says They need more time to ensure that health and safety protocols are in place before the start of full in-person classes by November. And in sports, the Philippines bowed to Thailand 1-0 to close out the group stages of the AFF Women's Championships. The Filipinas settled for second seed but are still assured of a semi-final slot. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Masks on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I am Sean Yao. We are One News.